So in discussing buying a new van, you kind of breezed over the whole like full size, high top or whatever. Can you go a little more in depth specifically on what size? How do they know what the right size is? What are the right options? And maybe even get into some of the different brands out there about if you would recommend them or not recommend them, depending on people's markets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's any vans out there brand-wise that I wouldn't recommend. I can't think of any. They're all pretty good. We'll go over the brands. And
we liked the Nissan Envy, but they stopped making it.
Yeah, that's what we started with back in 2015. Great vans. We'd still be using those to this day, but they stopped making them new. So we switched over to the Fords, which so far seem to be fine. We have, I guess, 4 of them now, right? Have we replaced them all? Yeah. So we have 4 of them. We still have one old Envy for our maintenance team. But they seem to be good vans so far. I do know some people that have used the Ford Transits long-term and have 400,000 miles on them, and they're still on the road. And once again, the wrap still looks good 10 years later. So they seem to be good vehicles as far as I can tell. There's the Ram ProMasters, which I've never personally used, but I know plenty of people do use, and they have very good luck with those as well. And then the last one out there that I'm familiar with, aside from, the bright drops and the electric vehicles, is the Sprinters, the Mercedes. And I know plenty of people that use those and they don't regret it. Now those you're going to spend 15, 20, sometimes even more $1,000, and it does cost more to buy them. It costs more to insure them because it's a Mercedes, and it does cost more to repair them. But I do know people that have made that investment and swear by it and say, oh, it's best investment they ever made, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't recommend any particular brand. We've used the Fords. The main reason we did it is we couldn't see a big difference in them and the Dodges. And we have a Ford dealership that has a great reputation just a couple miles from our store. And so service is easy, parts is easy, dropping them off, picking them up is really easy. And we didn't really have that with a Dodge dealership or a Mercedes dealership nearby.
So we do the 250s, right?
Yeah, the 250 Transits.
I know a big thing for us is definitely going with the medium or high roof. Our very first truck that we ever purchased, this was back when we were Laundry Magician, was a low top. And Dave was our initial driver, and he decided real quick that he would never do a low top van again because even you're 5'11", and so you can't stand up in them. Even just going to the medium roof is enough for an average height person to be able to stand and walk in it. So that's definitely an issue. I will mention, too, with the medium and high roof, though, one thing that we have made sure to do is put very, very bright stickers on the dash that tell our drivers the exact height of the vehicle they are driving. Too, not all of our vehicles are the exact same height. So depending on which truck they're in that day, they need to know, because we do have on one of our routes a bridge that they cannot go under. And we had a driver try to one time.
Yeah, he messed up the truck pretty good. Those things happen. They may happen in your market too. The other thing I'll comment on real quickly, Carl, is you mentioned the size. I went right to the full size because that's what I recommend. But kind of like I was saying, if you can't afford a brand new van, maybe get a used one. If you can't afford a used one, maybe use your personal vehicle or minivan or whatever, right? There's layers to this, and every one of those is a little bit better than the alternative, assuming you're wrapping it and branding it properly and things like that. The opposite is also kind of true with like the smaller vehicles, the Transit Connects and the smaller vehicles. They do have better gas mileage, right? Not by a ton, but they do have better gas mileage than the larger vehicles. They're obviously cheaper to buy. They're cheaper to maintain. If that gets you out the gate and on the road and profitable, by all means, don't hesitate to start there. But the reason I don't really recommend that is I know a ton of people that have, kind of been dipping their toes in the waters of pickup and delivery when they launch. They're not fully committed, like they don't fully believe this is going to work. And what they would do is, instead of spending $60,000 on a brand new high roof cargo van, what they would do is go out and buy a $15,000 5-year-old Transit Connect, which can only hold, 500 pounds of laundry or so roughly. But they're starting very small. They'd put a nice little branding or wrap on it or something. And what would happen is 6-12 months later, if they're in a major market, they've outgrown that vehicle. And they, a lot of times, decided to keep it, and it kind of ended up being to their detriment because they end up making multiple trips to different routes, and logistically and very quickly they figure out this is crazy. Like, I'm spending $1,000 more a month logistically to keep this van than if I were to just sell it, even though I just bought it a year ago. So once again, if you're in a major market of the country, you're an ambitious entrepreneur, you're planning on building a substantial pickup and delivery business, which most of us are that are doing this nowadays, it doesn't really make a lot of sense in most cases to have, whether it's new or used, a smaller Connect vehicle. But I think those are all things that you consider, is that you have very limited capacity. There's honestly not much room at all for shelving in there. So most people I know that are using the small Transit Connects and things like that, they're just kind of throwing everything on the floor. And organizationally, once again, 5 orders, that can be not a big deal. 50 orders, well, they're not even going to fit in there, right? 20 orders probably won't fit in there. And so these are all things to consider, but it could be a good option for you in the short term. And you may just say, hey, my business plan is I'm going to start here, lower my risk profile, and 18 months out, I'm going to sell this used vehicle and I'm going to upgrade. Do I think there's anything wrong with that? No. But I mean, if you're looking at this from a 5, 10, 15, 20-year window and looking at building a fleet of 3, 4, 5, 10 vehicles or more in some markets, I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
Something else to think about with that, with the size of the van, is if you have aspirations of getting into more business and commercial clients, because I know that was a thing for us too, having bigger vans. That made us able to take on some clients where we had like the big rolling carts and the big higher carts with our higher tops and stuff like that. It basically set us up to be able to take on those clients. So that might be a thought as well into that. Can we go a little more into some of the options we look for? I know when we look for a van, so obviously we want the bigger vans, we want the full size, we want the medium or high top, but there's also specific options we look for. Us specifically, I know we like it to have the backup camera and sensors because that makes it easier for our drivers and less likely that they're going to wreck it. We like it to have GPS. They do have phones and tablets, obviously, for GPS, but having a vehicle as a backup GPS in their vehicle, we like that as well. Can you talk a little more about options you look for when you're shopping for a new van?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking, we have the Sense software that we use, which is on tablets and phones and things like that, but we still try to buy them if we can get them with a navigation system built in. And do we pay a couple $1,000s more for that? Yeah. Do people think we're crazy for doing that? Some people do, but I look at it as a form of redundancy, right? And I always say if a driver gets 30 minutes from the store and they have 1,800 pounds of laundry and they have 6 stops left and they lose their phone, they drop it, they run over it, they break it, they can't figure out what they did with it. We make our drivers all take a paper manifest of their route in order, addresses, phone numbers with them in the truck. And the idea is if technology fails, whether it's our fault or the technology company's fault, we always want to have a form of redundancy that allows them to not only get back to the store safely, but to be able to complete their route efficiently. And let me tell you something, over the 11 years we've been doing this, we do a lot of pickup and delivery over that time. And I cannot tell you how many times that has saved our butt. So, but we obviously want air conditioning in them. We want technology as far as safety technology and things like that. We want sensors in them for, as you mentioned, backup cameras and things like that. Pulling these vehicles in and out of people's parking lots and residences and constantly backing up and little kids on bikes, not to mention mailboxes and deer and whatever. I mean, you want to give your team a fleet of delivery vehicles that makes their job as easy as possible to be safe. Because one of the things I don't think a lot of new owners with pickup and delivery think about is that logistics is not about speed, right? We talk about speed with our processing all the time, and that's the name of the game there, speed and quality. But when it comes to logistics, it's all about safety and efficiency, right? So we don't incentivize our drivers to be fast, right? We encourage them to be safe.
Well, and customer service, because they're sometimes the only person those customers ever interact with if they do.
For sure. Another thing to think about is just some tie down points within them. Cargo protection, easy to clean materials. You can buy cargo vans that are very basic and you can dent the tar out of them real quickly. If you get a cargo van, they typically don't come with the commercial rubber mats that are on there. And guess what happens? You try to roll bins around and stuff in there and it gets caught in between all the different, I don't even know what you call them, the little silos of flooring material. But you put these.
I call it the bumpies.
The bumpies. That's a technical term from Carla. I don't know what to call them either. But it does make it very hard when you're doing commercial accounts and things like that to be able to do that.